Hi mate, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Fantastic.
Great to see you.
And you?
Been
Wait for that.
been watching your film uh again this morning.
Fantastic. What
Uh
time is it? Time is it there? About 9 a.m. is it?
yeah, about 9 a.m. It
Nice early start.
looks like David's here but muted. Um I have to while we're waiting for David on getting started, I gotta ask you, how can I see Francois?
Oh, I can fire you over a link after this if you'd like.
I
Here
would
he
love
is.
that. I would it's I've I watched this one and Jack. I'd love to see all of your stuff, but particularly Francois, the
Yeah.
trailer. I'm like totally sold on it. Hello, David.
Hello,
Uh,
can you see me?
yes, I
We
Can you
can.
can.
hear me?
I absolutely, and it is an honor. I am, wow, to say that I'm a fan is an understatement. I jumped at this ability and I'm like, been telling all my friends, I've got detention with Filch this morning. Um, um, it's just, it's really a great opportunity to speak to both of you. This is a terrific film. I've watched it 3 times now. It's just, to me, it is, I would use this film if I were teaching a film class specifically for short films. I would use this film as a model of what a great short film should be
That's very
because
kind.
it's just a great piece of storytelling in a short time, the way a short should be. Ross, tell me a little bit about how the story developed and how it became the film it is now.
Well, it was during lockdown actually. Me and my partner Leanne, my now wife, who co-wrote the script with me. We stumbled across this little true crime thing. And it in no way is Brothers based on that. It's not, like based on anything. But it still sparked that question, what would you do for somebody you loved, or what would you expect them to do for you if you turned up at their door and said, "Oh, I've just done a bad thing," essentially. So we asked the question to friends and family just as a kind of, a bit of a joke. And the contrast in the answers was so vastly different. We thought, well, do you know what? This is really interesting. This is so. Let's kind of build something off that. So obviously we had like the goal in mind of what we wanted the script to be, and again, I think it was just the insanity of being locked in your house for weeks on end during lockdown. We had the time and the ability to just spitball ideas, and it just naturally kind of grew into what Brothers turned out to be.
You know, I've been doing for the interviews for about like this for 5 years or so, and every question, every time I ask the question, where did this story originate? Every everything comes back down to, okay, so it was during lockdown. And I like it's going to take a long time before that stops coming into play in the origin
Yeah,
story of each film. I think it was such a pivotal time for all of us, everyone everywhere, but I think for creatives, it was a massive time of reflection for us as artists to think about what we wanted to be doing and what kind of stories wanted to be telling.
absolutely.
David, what drew you to the decision to do this film?
Well, I just read the script. I didn't know Ross or Leanne or anybody involved in the company, but for me, it's always the script. I mean, it's a short film, but it's a big story, and I was just drawn to it. And when I heard who my fellow cast members were, and I thought I just knew it would be good, and it exceeded those expectations in the results. I was very proud to be a part of it. But as I say, it was the story, the fact that the most, as the grandfather says, this family has got a bit of a reputation for fuck ups, to quote him, and yet the love comes from a surprising quarter, and it's not. I mean, how it turns out. There's an unexpected element to it, and then there's another one, and it was to tell that story, great story, in such a short space of time. And so the writing was just so economical and true, and I just believed it, and I thought I've got to do this. So thankfully they asked me. So.
Thank you. It is just talking about it. It gets me emotional because it did. I do watch this and think about. I have two little nephews, and I would never want to be in this situation. I don't see them in this situation, but would I do something? Would I give up everything for them, it, regardless of whether of why? Yeah. And it's very, very moving. And it's a terrific script. I'm a screenwriter myself and a short filmmaker, and I'm picky about short films because a short film can either really work or really not. And with this one, the script, what blew me away is you balance setting up so much backstory and creating such vivid characters in such a short time without it ever feeling forced or without, like, David, the line you just quoted about this family has a history of being fuck ups that tells so much without ever giving you more context than that. It turns the parents into such vivid characters. But this never feels like, okay, this is the exposition dialogue. And that's a really delicate balance. Ross, was this a script that did this just kind of pour out with you and Leanne, or did you kind of obsess over the script and getting that balance of subtlety and clarity right?
Yeah, I mean the premise of it, the basics of it were out in no time. It's the first time I'd worked on a script with Leanne. Um, and we've wrote another one since because I think we just bounce off each other really well. But the premise of it just poured out, and then just getting the nuances and getting the layers to fit properly. You know, we did a few drafts on it, but as far as script goes, I think this is one of the dare I say the easiest kind of pen to paper scenarios I've had in a script. And I think, like you said, very kindly, we wanted to make sure we didn't make it 20 minutes for the sake of it. You know, we wanted to make sure we could get the backstory of this family in within a short period of time without over spoon feeding the audience. Like you say, it's a line here and there that'll let you know about the history of the family, the parents that aren't on the scene, and James's character will say just a little thing like, "You wouldn't last long in prison, trust me."
Yeah.
That's an ambiguous thing. Has he been to prison then? Does he know? So there's all those
Yeah.
little bits in there that okay, we can get from A to B. You learn a lot about this family in a short space of time without stringing on the scenario for too long, because the severity of what has happened, this incident, the police are going to be all over it, so the fact that we can get from A to B within 9 minutes, I think gives it a little bit of a realism too, because obviously there will be somebody knocking on your door pretty quickly if uh the vehicle's been spotted speeding
Yeah.
away. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was fair, considering there's a lot going on in the small amount of time. The script kind of came together quite quickly.
Right. It's amazing. The storytelling, it is such a great piece of storytelling, and that's a credit not only to the writing, but also to the acting, because while all of that dialogue is fantastic, but if it wasn't delivered with so much truth and sincerity and realism, it could still go wrong. Um, David, you've got a lot of short storytelling to do in such a short time, and it comes so organically. What was your approach to keeping it real and in the moment?
Well, Ross and Leanne set such what I call like a relaxed playground where you feel at ease and comfortable with the material and the story. Because I myself I'm a grandfather, and so it's one of those. What would you do? And at first, this family doesn't seem to be ideal candidates for some of the choices they eventually make in the film. And when the knock comes on the door and he goes, you could tell that story about the court case and everything, but the best stories, this included, don't have an ending, you know?
Absolutely, and that's what I love about it. Life doesn't have an ending, and this is this is a masterpiece of telling a story, part of a story, and knowing that there is a story that comes before it and a story that comes after it, and letting the audience feel that for themselves. David, your character is a man who feels kind of haunted by the past, um, but he is determined to make the right choice in a situation where there isn't a right choice.
Yeah.
Uh, but how deep did you dig in terms of creating a backstory for the character?
Well, it was made easy by the fact that um, the character that was responsible for a lot of the choices made doesn't even appear in the film, and that's his late wife. And a lot of it is I think he always feels indebted to her and wants to do something. I think honoring her memory is a very important part of the choices he makes.
Thank you. That brings me to the direction, which is so Ross, your approach is what I would call expertly restrained in that it's almost observational, and yet every choice I think is deliberate from the composition of each shot. Like I said, I've watched it 3 times, and the more I watch it, the more I feel like that shot from up at the top of the stairs is bringing the late wife into the story and is possibly her point of view watching the story as it unfolds. Between from that to just every piece of production design helps build the story. What was your approach to having that kind of precision without, there's no money shots, nothing gimmicky, it just focuses on the story. What was your mantra or your approach that guided your hand in this?
Yeah, well, firstly, I was obviously blessed with a fantastic cast. So I knew I could feel safe in just popping the camera down and letting David, Jack, and James just carry it, basically. So once I knew everybody was on board, I sat down with Lou, the DP, and I was like, this is how I want to do it. I want just to get them framed in a shot. And again, I want the boys framed against David and then David isolated against the boys. So straight from, there's a bit of a symbolism there that they've got something to hide against David and vice versa. Even when he goes and makes the second round of teas, he goes and he's in a distant shot because he's just come back from making that phone call. So he's kind of distanced himself. There's all those little kind of reasons we wanted to frame things. And I think normally, my past films, I have relied on camera movements and I've used camera movements to make things more immersive, but this time I wanted it to feel a little bit more real and raw. So from day one, luckily Lou, the DP, completely agreed with me. Pretty much one light, just static camera. There was a few little pushes in and outs when we need to just play on emotions a little bit, such as like the knock on the door, and then we come down the hallway with the camera. But yeah, I think the direction was set like that, which is different for me. As soon as I knew David and Jack and James were on board, because I knew we could get away with it. You know what I mean? Such a talented cast to kind of carry. I don't need fancy camera movements when I've got those three in front of the lens, you know. So yeah, I think it all went hand in hand, really.
Absolutely. Thank you. One of the things that I love about the film is that it's such an intimate story with, you could say it's a three character story, but it's actually not. It's a six character story. There are three characters on screen, but there are three very vivid characters who never appear on screen. Um, Nan and the parents are so vividly brought together. As a film critic who watches a few hundred movies every year, believe me, I see plenty of features that never manage to create characters as real or interesting as the three characters we don't even see in this film. They are so vividly created. So my question to both of you is, what do you think was the most crucial element in bringing those unseen characters to life and making them real?
Well, I think the fact that the characters none of us were encouraged to show off or to display or demonstrate emotions, but just to be and to. And Robert De Niro was interviewed not long ago, and I thought, actually, this is good advice. It said when someone in life receives bad news, they don't always, you see nothing because they're taking it in. And I thought the same with the grandfather when he hears this news. There's no pyrotechnics, and Ross encourages to keep it. Less is best always on screen, as long as what you do has got a truth and the right level of intensity without showing off or doing more than this. But that's the benefit of having a great script and a director who does it lovingly and honors the script and doesn't feel the need to over dramatize or to overlay it with emotions that and it's just that honesty and simplicity that is great to play that and to be given the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Ross, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like David said, you know, as a whole, we wanted it to be realistic and no theatrics, not theatrical in any way. Play on the awkward silences, leave, you know, because like David said, that is the truth. You don't go, oh, shock horror when you hear something terrible. You let it sink in, and then there's an awkward transaction between everybody, and everybody played off each other's natural reactions. Amazing. It made my job a hell of a lot easier. It was great. But like you say, with the off-screen characters, they were essential in building the story basically because the mom and dad who are not there, we've established that they were fuck ups in some way. We don't really lead onto what they did. That's open for interpretation, but it obviously cements then that there's been some kind of upbringing with the grandsons and the grandfather, and then for the grandfather to be left on his own as well with his wife departing. Um, just they've got a bond there between those three men that quite a lot of grandsons might not have with their grandfathers. Um, so I think they were crucial in building the story. It's like you say, without over explaining those characters, it dictates why Nigel David's character is the way he is and why the boys are the way they are. And why they've just got that mutual respect between the three of them because they're all in it together essentially. And back to talking about props and set design mentioned earlier, it's a sprinkle of that. Yes, the kitchen's in the state that it is because obviously he's had a loving wife in the past and things have been kept a certain way and now Nigel's walking around leaving his microwave meals everywhere. The tea bags are piling up and there's magazines left on the stairs. But I like what you're saying about the shot from down the stairs being her point of view. Never thought about it like that. That was a shot of obviously once the drama unfolds in the hallway, I wanted to pull out of that and leave those three isolated to, it is an outer point of view. We are a fly on the wall at that point. Okay, we've just been inside with them delivering this bad news. We've heard this bad news. Pull out. What do we do now? So best go put the kettle on, as he
Yeah,
says.
and I got to tell you, I think you're a shoo-in for the BAFTA just for that line because that I hit someone with the car. Best put the kettle on is like the most quintessentially British line I've ever heard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so great. Um, so I have to ask, I'm curious about your choice of aspect ratio. I'm always interested in what prompts that.
Yeah. So there is actually a reason this time. Normally I shoot everything widescreen. I'll try and
Mm.
be as epic as I can. But this time I wanted to genuinely feel confined. I wanted everything to feel a bit squeezed. So the fact that we did this 4-3 thing, it's you're blocked in. You've got nowhere to go. I wanted to be blocked in with the characters in this story. We were toying around with do we keep it uh well, widescreen 2:1, 16:9, whatever. But no, we stuck with. I had a few people saying, "Don't do 4:3, don't it's." But no, I wanted specifically to feel confined in those spaces with everybody else.
I I had a feeling that was what you were going to say, and that's why it always interests me because I am a firm believer that the story should dictate the aspect ratio, that it should never be just about like, well, I'd love to shoot in this aspect ratio, that the
Yeah.
story will dictate that, and it absolutely did in this case. I'm curious on the subject of what the parents did. Did you, as you rehearsed, did you guys talk about like setting a specific story? And if there is one, please don't tell me because I don't want I think that it's meant to be left to the audience's interpretation. But did you talk together about establishing anything specific?
I don't think we said it. We chucked a few scenarios round that the parents could have been responsible for. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. I don't think we landed on a specific one, did we? We just made it known that they've done something bad in the past and now they're not around, whether they're in prison or they've passed.
Yeah,
I can't, I don't think we kind of landed on the specifics.
yeah, yeah. I think we kind of passed a thought that they may have been addicts or and that, but like the family, I suspect that my character and the boys we wouldn't have been sharing meals or cups of tea in the past and discussing the state of the world and the politics and anything. I suspect there was a lot of silences because they're not that kind of. I know because I came from one myself, and then when I hear about people who, oh, we sorted the world to rights and we discussed, and it was quite a broad church of discussions. I think I don't remember that at all. We just ate in silence most of the time, and I suspect that they've never discussed their personal problems or difficulties, because that's not something you do. You don't wash your dirty clothes in public. I suspect that's the sort of people we were dealing with, and that's what I love, those embarrassing or embarrassed silences, because we're not used to articulating our feelings to each other.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so, forgive me. This interview is, of course, about brothers, and I think I've made it pretty clear how what high esteem I hold this film in. But David, every time I hear your voice, I get chilled because I hear Merlin, I hear Pinocchio, I hear Geppetto. I so I have to take this opportunity. You're in, you've got this amazing film here with brothers, but you're also you've given my favorite performance in a masterpiece that's currently playing in theaters in Frankenstein. And I'm such a Del Toro fan. Um, he's one of the greatest directors of our time. And I think that you've done multiple works with him, but I think Pinocchio and Frankenstein, which have a kinship, stand out as special. Tell me about being a part of those films and Guillermo del Toro's vision as a filmmaker.
Well, I was approached by, Guillermo called me up about 12 years ago, and he said he was doing a series called The Strain, and could I be in Toronto on the Saturday? This was a Tuesday, and they'd had someone they'd had to let go playing this lead as a kind of Van Helsing character in this tale of vampiric beings. And so I went out there and I did 3 series. I spent 3 nuclear winters in Toronto, and we got on so well. And it's great when the director, I mean, there are occasionally directors will say, "Oh, we must work together again," and then you never hear anything. But Guillermo, he came back with Troll Hunters and with, as you say, Pinocchio, and now Frankenstein. And he leaves you to do what you do, and he'll just change things a little softer, a little harder, a bit more of this, a bit less of that. Not great long notes into the night, and he just he would say he casts well, like a lot of the best directors. They cast someone they know will do the job they want, and that like leaves you alone in terms of discussing how you're going to play it, unless you go off message and he needs to pull you back. But he's a genius, is Guillermo, and his work shows that, and he's not afraid. He just he thinks on a grand scale, and his ambition. I mean, well, Frankenstein, I think, is just such a familiar story, and yet I always thought of it as a sheer horror, jump out of your seat story. But having read the book for the first time, I realized it wasn't. It was very humane, and there's a great sadness to it as well. And I thought he honored the book, and I just absolutely loved doing it. I love working with him. That's all.
Thank you. And you talked about casting right. I mean, I read Jacob Elordi is playing the monster, and I'm like, what the hell? Jacob Elordi? And then he was so amazing. And it's funny, we go back to the title Brothers and the theme of love, the relationship, the scenes between the two of you and Jacob are just pure beauty. What were those? What was he like to work with that interplay?
Well, he was just absolutely terrific and such a lovely guy. And we didn't spend a lot of time together having nights out and bonding or anything. But Guillermo got us both in his office and we talked about our backgrounds, our upbringing for a little while. And we found you find common ground in some ways. And and what was on the script is what we worked on. We just meet up in the morning, spend the day, and then go our separate ways. And so it wasn't a great kind of a lot of socializing or even discussing it. We just got on with it and did it. And Guillermo just guided us through that story. And the fact that there's this guy who he, uh, he is a very solitary man who takes people, and he's got a very strong spiritual sense, and he's got a background. You feel maybe even a criminal one. He's killed someone, so he's very open to anything that just comes along, and because he can't see the creature where others recoil or try to shoot him or whatever because of the fear, but he takes people for what they are, and he senses just through the sounds the creature makes that there's a fellow suffering human being, and that he there's a hint, as in the characters in Brothers, that they've got a past and a history, but it's not displayed on camera. It's you just know that there's some kind of past that creates a kind of empathy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And Ross, thank you for indulging me and letting me ask him about that. I am a long time David Bradley fan, and I very sincerely mean it when I say I am now a diehard Ross Signer fan. So
I've got
this,
one. I've got one.
um, please remember to send me that link to Francois. I would love
Absolutely, yeah,
to
no
have
worries.
it. So a question that's always, I know for me as a short filmmaker, it's always asked, is, so are you going to make this into a feature? I'm guessing you're not, and I have my feelings on that, but
No, I've got Brothers 2, the script. No, I'm joking. It's there. I'm leaving it there. No, it was an out and out short film. You could go on. It's one thing, you can't stretch that storyline out. It's what happens within 9 minutes in a tragic morning, and that's it. We could go on again, like you said earlier, to see what happens in the courtroom and what happens when the boys realize he's gone. But the ending is that for me on that script. So no, there's no
uh,
feature version of this one, right?
good for you.
Yeah.
This is a work of art, and I think that the mistake that people, uh, myself as a filmmaker, I fell into this trap for a long time. Of people think that you make short films just to get to making features. That's the reason you make short films, and not it's not true. There are the the bad short films are approached with that mindset. The great short films, and this is one of the great short films, are approached with the mindset you're making this story, this movie this way because that's the way the story should be told. And it's it's truly great on that level. That being said, any features forthcoming from you? Or do you have any features
So
in the
I've got
works?
one in the pipeline. I got a fantastic executive producer on board, trying to get things funded, but it's early days. I've had features funded on paper before, and then they don't happen. So I don't get too excited anymore, you know.
I've
Um,
I've been there, believe me.
Yeah, and
And
we have just acquired some rights to some a good chronicle of books actually, so we're going to develop those. But that is my next step. Is I'm hopeful that this feature gets off the ground. But it's a slog, isn't it? You know, trying to get your first one off the ground. But
sure
you
it's
know, fingers crossed. Here we go. You got to be in it to win it and all that, haven't you?
absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. It's been
Thank
an
you.
honor. Hopefully, this is the beginning of another director who latches on to David and uses him again.
Well, I have wrote another short film alongside Leanne, and I've wrote it with David in mind again. But we'll see we'll see if he'll have me back.
Well, you know where I live,
Yeah.
as they say.
Well,
Perfect.
thank you both so much. It was an honor. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
And you,
And
mate.
you. Thank
See you
you.
soon,
Thank you.
David. Thanks,
See you,
Patrick. Bye.
Ross.
Thank you.
See ya.